of power. This is my finest hour. Nothing on this earth can stop me now. Everything is mine. I finally have control. Excuse me, I hope I don't sound too droll. I'll take your color TVs and the banana, if you please, and I'll put an end to this silly
Welcome, I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today is time to conclude King Kong Month with King Kong Escapes. In 1966, Rankin Boss and Toho aired an animated series based on King Kong.
10 times as big as a man. One day a boy too young to know the danger made a friend of this giant fearsome stranger.
It featured Kong befriending the Bond family, no relation, and Captain Englehorn as they went out on an adventure around the world. There was an episode that featured a scientist who created a robot Kong that fought against his fleshy counterpart. Toho wanted to make another King Kong movie, so they adapted this episode of the cartoon series to create King Kong Escapes. They changed the central characters from being a man and his children to 3 researchers working for the United Nations. Is King Kong Escapes worthy of being ranked among the best with Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra? Let's find out. King Kong Escapes begins by introducing us to our trio of heroes, Carl Nelson, Susan Watson, and Jiro Nomura. They are played by Rhodes Reason, Linda Miller, and the great Akira Takarada. Carl and Jiro are interested in the legend of King Kong as they are close to Mondo Island where he is supposed to reside. At the same time, at the North Pole, a giant gorilla-like robot has been created by a strange old man who is searching for a strange element called X on behalf of a mysterious country and their assailant, Madam X. The old man's name?
Obtain element X, Doctor Who.
What?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
What?
Doctor Who.
What?
Hideo Yamamoto and Miyahama portray this unlikely duo. Mecha Kong is sent out to acquire element X because they want to create superheroes?
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl. But Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction, Chemical X. Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
For some reason, Madam X and Doctor Who go outside, talk, and then go back inside to continue the operation. And the point of that was... The floor collapses on Mecha Kong, but Doctor Who just plays it off as if it were supposed to do that.
What's happened?
It's nearly there now.
Until Mecha Kong shorts out due to the overwhelming power of Element X. A rock slide damages Carl's sub, the Explorer, forcing it to surface for repairs right off the coast of Mondo Island. As such, Carl, Susan, and Jiro go off to the island to explore it in their super fancy futuristic hovership that still doesn't even exist today. They meet a single native that yells at them. A single native. Did Toho not have a budget to have an entire island full of them? Could they not get the Mothra natives to help out? Jiro and Carl leave Susan behind in a great dinosaur ice and blonde dinner. Of course, Susan trips while trying to run, and her wild shrieks wake Kong up from his slumber, who comes out and picks her up. Kong and the dinosaur battle each other as the trio of heroes make their escape. A giant snake skids across the waves of the ocean, so after Kong breaks the dinosaur's neck, he has to rescue the trio from that as well. Kong's head grew 2 sizes that day. After the battle, Kong shakes the explorer around until Susan comes out to appease him while the crew finishes the repairs. Kong releases Susan so she can go back with her friends as they leave the island to report to the United Nations in New York City.
At the meeting of the scientific committee this morning, it was decided to send the explorer out again. Is this for the purpose of capturing Kong?
No, not to capture him, but to study him in his natural habitat. It would be, to say the least, difficult to care for him here in New York.
I see what you did there. That was a good one. Ha 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 ha. Madam X reports the discovery to Doctor Who, and they head out to capture the real Kong. Who gets to the island first?
Well, then who's playing first?
Yeah.
I mean, the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first base.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
What?
What is on second base?
They gas Kong, kill the native, and then take the giant behemoth away to their base in the North Pole where they hypnotize him to control him. It works temporarily as Element X's mighty power causes the control device on Kong to fail, and he tries to destroy the base before being locked out of it. Carl and the others arrive on the island and they find the dying native.
Aga maga baga gahu grafa.
Well, aga maga baga gahu grafa to you.
Carl just happens to guess that it was indeed Doctor Who did this because there's no other explanation for it. On their way to Japan, a plane is sent to pick them up that is supposedly by the UN, but it is actually Who's minions there to capture the trio so they can motivate Kong to work. Oh yeah, and Jiro has a brilliant deduction that clearly doesn't make sense.
I don't trust the pilot. And I don't think they're Japanese.
You know, if you're gonna say that they're not Japanese, especially the pilot, maybe you shouldn't cast Japanese actors in those roles?
Knock before you enter next time, all right? State what it is you want. Uh-huh. New York, yeah?
Where did New York come from? She didn't even say anything.
The UN has begun to ask a lot of questions about us.
That doesn't make sense. Carl, Susan, and Jiro are greeted by Doctor Who, and he reveals to them that he is after Element X and needs Kong's help to get it. They refuse, so they are imprisoned until Carl is taken to Madam X's room because they need some bonding time. Who catches them together and has Carl taken back to his cell. 30 seconds later, Who takes Carl away to play chess with him and turns off the heat in the cell to free Susan and Jiro. Susan and Jiro are freed as Kong tears down a part of the base and swims away, apparently headed to Tokyo. Not sure how that works. But then again, I wasn't alive in '67, so maybe the North Pole and Japan were neighbors to each other back then? Madam X assists the trio to her room, who once again imprisons them only to have Madam X rescue them again. Seriously, movie? Make up your mind. Do you want them in prison or do you not? Because this is getting a little bit out of control. And why does Who just continue to let her do what she wants? Shouldn't he give her a warning or something about releasing the prisoners? Whatever. They stop the military from firing on Kong to avoid casualties and destruction from occurring. Only to have it ruined by Mecha Kong. Mecha Kong grabs Susan and ascends Tokyo Tower. Kong follows suit, rescuing Susan in the process, and the two titans meet at the top. Mecha Kong is knocked from the tower's peak, shattering to pieces as it crashes into the street below. Who kills Madam X? Let's see. I'm gonna say it was Doctor Who with the gun in the boat. I win? Yeah! Yeah! The next morning, Kong is for some reason with everyone as they head to the docks to arrest Who. Who's ship tries to escape, so Kong roughs it up quite a bit, killing Who in the process. And then he proceeds to return to Mondo Island.
I think he's had enough of what we call civilization.
Thus bringing an end to King Kong Escapes. As a whole, it is far from a perfect movie, and yet it is an enjoyable one. The pacing is off at times, as the movie has a tendency to move at the speed of a crawl, to the point where non-kaiju fans may find themselves bored. The plot does not make a whole lot of sense when you start to think about it either, especially due to its chaotic narrative. It just feels like something has been lost in translation, and since I personally have never seen the Japanese version, I have nothing to back that up. Nevertheless, the motivation of Madam X is awkward and makes little sense. She represents an unknown country, but it is never revealed what country. Nothing is ever told to the audience about Element X, so we really have no idea what makes it so special. Is it used to power weapons? Can it be used for heat and electricity? Does it grow food? What is so special about Element X that makes it where every country must have it? Carl, Susan, and Jiro are quite generic, unfortunately. All we really know about them is that they are scientists, and at the beginning of the movie they are on a mission that is never revealed. The acting is okay, however Linda Miller was given some of the most cringe-inducing lines for her character in the movie. It also doesn't help that Susan is such a whiny character and is only there to be Kong's motivational tool.
Kong! Kong! King Kong! Please, I don't want to go with you. Kong! Kong! Kong!
Akira Takarada doesn't seem to be on his A game either. For a villain, Doctor Who is average at best. He feels more like something out of Johnny Quest in a Kaiju movie. Then again, he was based off the Doctor Who from the cartoon series, so that does make sense.
Dad?
Soundproof. The least you might expect from Doctor Who. Cold.
Look, Frost.
It doesn't excuse his Saturday morning zaniness though, it just explains it. Ishiro Hana knows how to do much better and more compelling villains though, so the decision to go for the cookie cutter kooky villain is somewhat disappointing. Finally, like Madam X, his motivations are jumbled by the lack of a clear depiction of what Element X is. The effects are well done despite the wires being clearly visible in areas. The miniatures, especially Tokyo Tower, all look quite good. One of the most interesting aspects of the movie is that it does take place in the North Pole. As such, it was a nice change of pace from just a jungle, an island, a city, and so forth. Sadly, Toho just cannot seem to get Kong's look right no matter what they do. It is a step up from the suit used in '62, but it is still ugly. The eyes still have that sleepy look to them, and those teeth are horrendous looking. Those scenes in the water do not do the suit any favors either, as there are times where his head looks to be as big as his body. Thankfully, the arms don't seem to have the same issues they had in King Kong vs. Godzilla with their ever-changing size. Although, it does seem like there are times the suit actor is unable to lower his arms. Mecha Kong, on the other hand, is easily the highlight of the movie. Yes, it is another robotic clone, however, it is used more meritoriously. It doesn't overshadow the movie or Kong, and it isn't overpowered to the point where one has to wonder how Kong can even win without some super god mode emerging. Its origin comes off clumsily though. Doctor Who stole the plans from Carl's lab when they apparently worked together, even though there is no way Carl could have known exactly how big Kong was. What if Kong was 50 meters like Godzilla? Then the mechanical doppelganger would have been defeated with ease. It is just a lucky coincidence that Kong ended up being the same height as Carl and Who predicted. Lastly, Akira Ifukube helmed the score of King Kong Escapes, and he did another fantastic job with it. His Mecha Kong theme is quite pleasant. In fact, a couple of the pieces of the music found here were redone by him for the 1993 Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla movie. This includes Baby's theme, and the Mechagodzilla theme itself, which originally belonged to Mecha Kong. In the end, King Kong Escapes is an enjoyable movie, even if it isn't one of Ishiro Honda's best works. The plot just doesn't make any sense, and the villains are ripped right out of a Saturday morning cartoon. That doesn't make them bad villains, it just makes them non-threatening ones. Nevertheless, if you are a Kaiju fan, you most likely will be entertained with this movie. With that said, it is time to bring King Kong Month to a close. Thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this look at the King Kong movies of the past, and hopefully we have something to look forward to in the future. Until next time, bye.
What's the name of that group playing on stage?
Who?
The name of the group.
Who?
The group on stage.
Who?
The group playing on stage.
Who?
You're starting to sound like an owl, Skippy.
Who is on stage?
That's what I'm asking you. Who is on stage?
Shut up!